Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We head back 66 years to October 26, 1956, an episode of the CBS Radio Workshop, an adaptation of the French novel Derborence by Charles-Ferdinand Ramuz, entitled When the Mountain Fell. And we thank you for tuning in on this Wednesday, 26th day of October, 299th day of the year, 66 days remaining until we get to 2023. The First Continental Congress adjourned on this date in 1774. The Erie Canal opened on this date in 1825. The passage from Albany, New York to Lake Erie. The gunfight at the OK Corral took place at Tombstone, Arizona on this date in 1881. The first electric generator at Hoover Dam went into full operation in 1936. Future Vice President and later President Harry Truman publicly denied ever having been a member of the Ku Klux Klan. The British military operation ended in Iraq on this date in 1947. And it was on this date in 1958, Pan American Airways made the first commercial flight of the Boeing 707 jet from New York to Paris. The Beatles appointed members of the Order of British Empire. They were knighted.
The man shouted out, George Harrison, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr. And Starr was the cue.
Left foot forward.
Yes, we always thought.
We were drilled beforehand by some big guardsman fella. And every time he was reading out the names and he got to Ringo Starr, he kept cracking up.
The Beatles knighted on this date in 1965. It was on this date in 1977 the last natural case of smallpox discovered in Merka District, Somalia. The WHO and the CDC considered this date in 1977 the anniversary of the eradication of smallpox, the most spectacular success of vaccination. Unfortunately, there are some people who still don't understand. Some vaccines are not good. Some vaccines very much are. It was on this date in 1984 a baboon heart transplanted into a human infant known as Baby Faye.
Baby's heart started beating automatically without any exterior stimulation, and it started beating around 11:35 a.m. It was a very emotional experience for the transplant team. They, I understand, got teary-eyed, and some of them embraced each other.
Baby Faye would only live 21 days, but sparked a debate on the ethics of using infants and animals in this fashion. PlayStation 2 released on this date in 2000. The Patriot Act passed into law on this date in 2001. It was anything but patriotic, but it still persists to this day. Moscow theater siege ended on this date in 2002. 50 Chechen rebels, 150 hostages died when Russian troops stormed the House of Culture Theater in Moscow, which had been occupied by the rebels 3 days earlier. Chicago White Sox defeated the Houston Astros in the World Series on this date in 2005, White Sox winning their first championship since 1917. Passing away on this date in history, Gone with the Wind star Hattie McDaniel, Vincent Coleman, another fine actor, singer Wilbert Harrison, gone to Kansas City, here I come, and Hoyt Axton, Della and the Dealer, and a dog named Jake, and a cat named Kalamazoo. I'm not good at singing. But I have to do it because how else am I going to identify the songs? Mahalia Jackson, born on this date in history. Jazz singer, saxophonist, bandleader Charlie Barnett. Also Jackie Coogan, fine actor. The Jordanaires Neil Matthews Jr. and Bob Hoskins, all born on this date. Jacqueline Smith, 77 years old today. Wheel of Fortune star Pat Sajak, 76 and getting crusty. He has said some things that just Didn't make sense lately. Speaking of not making sense, Hillary Rodham Clinton, 75. A couple of actors who play doctors. James Pickens Jr. from Grey's Anatomy, 68. From The Practice, Dylan McDermott, 61. More singers. From 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant, 59. Country singer Keith Urban is 55. From The Family Guy, Ted and the voice actor, and The Orville, Seth MacFarlane, 49. Napoleon Dynamite, John Hader is 45, and pro wrestler, maybe permanently retired, CM Punk, 44. Those some of the people celebrating the 26th day of October as their birthday. If this is your birthday.
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
From 66 years ago, October 26, 1956, the CBS Radio Workshop, When the Mountain Fell. That's coming up next on this Wednesday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare. And that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network, so yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Wednesday, an episode of the CBS Radio Workshop, 66 years ago, October 26th, 1956.
Derborence. Even the word has a singing sound. It rings softly and a little sadly here, inside your head. And then it fades and disappears, just as the valley itself has disappeared. Derborence. Once its pastures were a beautiful green color, even as early as May. There were all kinds of tiny mountain flowers, some whiter than snow, bluer than the sky, bright orange and purple and yellow. How beautiful it was in those days. How very beautiful. But all that was almost 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago, before the mountain fell.
The CBS Radio Workshop, dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind. Tonight, a version for listening of a French novel called When the Mountain Fell, written by C.F. Ramuz, adapted for the Workshop by Draper Lewis, with an original musical score composed and conducted by Lawrence Rosenthal.
My name is Plon, Old Plon. Once I was called Pierre, when my back was straight and strong, and my flocks as many as the stars that pasture up there in the evening sky. Pierre, all that is past. Now I am Old Plon, who sits here by the well and gossips with the women of the village, or carves little animals of wood for the children. Do you see that path to the right of the church? That is the path the men of our village would follow each spring, driving their cattle and goats up to the pastures for the summer. There were so many men from our village living up there in the valley that last terrible year when the mountain fell. There was Nendas, who walked with a limp, Justin, the baker's son. There were the three brothers named Carut, and Antoine and Seraphine.
Antoine, my cup is empty again. Is there more coffee?
Antoine, who shared a little cabin with Seraphine. He's the one I want to tell you about. Antoine.
Antoine!
What? Oh, I'm sorry, Seraphine.
And what face were you looking for among the flames? We've only been on the mountain a few weeks, and already you're lonesome for your Therese. Anyone would think you were never going to see your young bride again. Is it such an awful thing to have me for company?
Well, no. No, of course not, my old friend.
Please, some more coffee. Besides, I would like you to go down to the village on Saturday. I have some cheese for you to take to my sister Philomene. You can stay over till Monday or Tuesday and then come back.
Well, many thanks. From both of you.
Ah, it's nothing. Now, it's time for bed.
Well, I've never heard that sound before.
It's been happening for the past 3 nights, but you're too heavy a sleeper to hear it. It's nothing. Unless you believe the stories they tell about the mountain, about the Devil's Tower.
I've heard some of the stories.
Old Prawn will tell you the devil himself lives there with his wife and children. He will say, "Now he is quiet, there is no noise, but soon he will get bored and say to his imps, 'You there, get out the bowls.' And they will hurl great stones at the devil's 9-pin, and the noise echoes like thunder through the mountain. The story's true, just ask Old Prawn. See? They begin again.
It seems so much louder this time.
He will also tell you that anyone who dies on the mountain lives on through all eternity, haunting the place where he has died and calling in the night to his loved ones to join him. He can make the little hairs in the back of your neck rise with some of his tales.
Well, the sound is getting louder. It doesn't seem to be stopping this time.
It will stop. It always stops.
Well, did you feel it? The cabin moved as though a giant hand had reached down to shake it.
Get your lantern. Must go outside and turn the cattle loose.
We can't go outside. The rocks are falling everywhere.
Antoine, stay near the walls where the beams are heaviest. It'll be safer there.
Oh, dear God. Protect us.
Antoine, help me! Get me free! Seraphine! Seraphine!
First, it sounded like a great storm in the mountains, as though the thunder of all the world was speaking as one up there. And then there was the crash as the Devil's Tower hit the valley below, to bury Derborence and our men forever. But it was not forever. The mountain would not have it so.
Come in, Mother. Good morning. I brought you over some fresh eggs from the farm.
Oh.
How did you sleep last night?
Oh, well, I woke up once when I heard the storm, but then I remembered that you'd closed the windows before you left. Here, I'll take the eggs. Mother, why is the church bell ringing so slowly this morning?
Well, there's a ceremony, a special mass today. But come sit here by the stove and I'll make coffee. With a baby coming, we must talk about the clothes he will need. I still have a trunk in the attic with some of your clothes in it, and when Seraphine comes home, he can help. When Seraphine comes home...
Mother? Oh, Mother, you're suddenly so pale. What is it?
It's nothing. Nothing, dear. I didn't sleep well last night. The storm upset me.
Philomene, there is no one left alive in Derborence. One of the woodmen, little boys, just came down from the mountain. He says there are only great clouds of dust and the rocks. He says that... She doesn't know.
I wanted to tell her, but not yet, not this soon.
What's happened? What are you trying to keep from me, Mother? Mother, tell me, Catherine. Catherine, please.
The mountain has fallen.
The mountain is... What mountain?
The Devil's Tower.
Fallen where?
On Derborence.
And the men? And the men?
There is.
What?
Sit here on the bed.
But the mountain just doesn't fall down like that. A mountain can't fall down. And then, Antoine, where is he? Antoine, my husband. Antoine!
2 months, or nearly 2 months, went by. The scientists came from the city to study the glacier, looking for any fresh cracks which would cause another fall. Then the engineers to measure the avalanche and change their maps of the valley. And always the people came. The curious people who climbed the great pile of rock that covered the valley of Derborence. But they found nothing. Cabins, animals, and men had disappeared completely under the stones. And Derborence lay as dead beneath the Devil's Tower for 2 months, or nearly 2 months, until one morning. One morning, he got his head out.
Help me.
It was nearly 2 months after the avalanche when he crawled out of a hole.
Please, someone help me.
There was no one there to help him. First, his head squeezed between 2 stones, out into the daylight. And he struggled and fought, dragged the rest of his body up, towards the sun.
Marie, the mayor says we'll be given new pastures in the spring.
And the money for the new livestock, when can we expect that? Pass me your bowl again.
The wind is rising. It may storm tonight.
Rebor, can't we move down into the village now that our cattle are gone? Your dog is barking again. It's so lonely up here.
We will buy more cattle somehow. And why is he always my dog whenever he begins to bark? We can't afford to move this year, and besides...
Rebor, wait. Did you hear something?
I heard my dog barking, and the sound of the wind in the trees.
Be quiet, you fool, and listen. Oh. There. I heard it again.
That was a cry. Someone in pain. I'll take the ladder.
Rebor, don't go out there, please.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Rebor, it could be them. They can't come back, you know. I've heard talk about it in the village. Anyone who is killed on the mountain can't come back.
Who have you been listening to, old Flaw? Let me open the door, Marie.
No.
Marie, get back.
Antoine. Oh.
What are you talking about? Are you mad? And stop waving that gun around in my face.
I saw him with my own 2 eyes standing at the door. His face was white and shrunken like a skull. And his voice, a voice from the grave.
Now perhaps you will believe old Paul when he tells you that the dead are restless there on the mountain, that the dead will return to seek their own.
But, my son, it might have been your imagination. Some sort of image you thought you saw.
No, Father. I saw him walking down the path towards the village. I saw the ghost of Antoine Paul, who is dead. Dead!
Wait, please. We must be certain before we act.
Emile saw him on the path not more than 10 minutes ago. He'll be in the village at any minute.
And who knows how many more of the dead will follow him.
Antoine Paul died with all the other men of the village 2 months ago, but tonight he is walking again.
What are you saying about my husband? He has been seen at the door of Marie Rebor's cabin and on the path leading to the village. Antoine.
He's the first of the dead to walk from Derborence. Father, you must help us. The church must protect our village.
How can I protect you against something I haven't seen? How do I know that this is true?
Look there, at the end of the path from Derborence. It is.
Father, if you won't try to stop him, I will.
No, Rabor, no.
Oh, my arm.
No.
Oh, my arm.
Please, Rabor, put away your gun. Let him alone. Antoine, it's Therese. Antoine, come to me. Come to me, my husband.
Therese. Therese.
Antoine.
Go to him, my daughter. It is your husband. The dead do not reach out for the living beneath the shadow of the cross of our Lord.
Superstition plays a big role in this story. The CBS Radio Workshop, October 26, 1956, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 66 years ago is next. And you're listening to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station in an episode of the CBS Radio Workshop as it was originally broadcast at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, October 26, 1956. In the newspapers of that Friday, 66 years ago, these were some of the headlines. President Eisenhower, hitting again at Adlai Stevenson, said last night America will agree to ban the H-bomb testing only when other nations possessing the weapon agree to sure safeguards against attack. Addressing a cheering capacity crowd in Madison Square Garden and a nationwide television radio audience, the president accused Stevenson, his Democrat rival, of political double talk in the campaign. Meanwhile, Adlai Stevenson contending last night that President Eisenhower has broken the promises he made to the farmer to win their vote in 1952. Stevenson has said that Eisenhower had told the farmers they would have their prices supported at 90% of parity. Did President Eisenhower keep those promises? He did not, according to Stevenson. In a speech at a big farm rally in Springfield, Illinois, the Democrat nominee hit at the president again and again. The 1956 Nobel Prize for Literature awarded yesterday to Juan Ramón Jiménez, 74-year-old Spanish-born poet, now living in Puerto Rico. Jiménez created a sensation in Madrid with his first volume of poetry at the age of 17. He was acclaimed Spain's greatest poet before he left his homeland in 1936 during the Spanish Civil War. Fighting has broken out between French and Tunisian troops near the Algerian border, Premier Habib Bourguiba announced yesterday. The government said Tunisians near the frontier are digging trenches and building barricades to prevent French soldiers from crossing from Algeria. Hungarian rebels seized new strongpoints throughout Hungary yesterday and fought grimly in flaming Budapest. The rebels seized a radio transmitter and broadcast stiff terms for peace. A Polish newsman in Budapest reported to Warsaw that tension is rising in the provinces. A committee of 4 scientists said yesterday radiation hazards from H-bomb tests may have already passed the danger point in some areas of the world. The statement made by the Committee on Radiation Hazards of the Federation of American Scientists. It conflicted sharply with administration claims that current H-bomb tests create no present or foreseeable danger to humans. Southern leaders have challenged a Justice Department official statement that a mass campaign to deny Negroes the right to vote is underway in the South. Assistant Attorney General Warren Olney said yesterday investigations already are underway in sections of 5 states and criminal charges will be filed where Negroes are deprived their voting rights because of their race. Congress may take action next year to increase the cost of living in sin. A House Ways and Means subcommittee considering legislation that would eliminate the $600 income tax exemption a man may claim for his mistress. The measure would bar a taxpayer from listing as a household dependent any individual with whom he has a relationship that violates local law. Subcommittee experts said this would apply to all mistresses except those who meet the local requirements as a common law wife. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Friday, October 26, 1956. On your radio, the CBS Radio Workshop. The conclusion follows these important messages here on this Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Thursday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Lou Ayres, Lionel Barrymore, reprising their screen roles as Dr. Kildare and Dr. Gillespie. The story of Dr. Kildare and Mr. Ling refuses leg surgery. An elderly Chinaman named Ling Ko refuses to have a simple operation on his leg. Without the operation, he'll die. That goes back 72 years, October 27, 1950. The story of Dr. Kildare on tomorrow's Classic Radio Theater. But right now, the conclusion of When the Mountain Fell, an episode of the CBS Radio Workshop from 66 years ago, October 26, 1956.
Oh, Antoine, is it really you?
I'm not sure. Look in the mirror. Was my face always that small without whiskers?
Always as handsome. How do you feel?
Oh, I could sleep the clock around several more times.
Oh, I hated to wake you, but the mayor and the village council...
Ah, yes, I was summoned to tell my story before the august presence of the mayor himself.
Antoine, I have something to tell you. Something very important.
I have so many things to tell you. Things I've held here inside me for 2 long months. Therese, Oh, let me sit down for a moment.
I'll go call the doctor.
No, I'm all right. Therese, I'm going back. I'm going back up to Derborence.
Oh, let me tell the mayor that you can't see him now.
But I must see him now. I have something to tell him about the mountain. I must see him. There is still someone under the avalanche at Derborence. Someone alive.
To your health, Antoine, and welcome home.
Your Honor. Father, please. You must believe me when I tell you that Seraphim is alive. He's up there under the rocks that cover Derborence. You must help me find him.
Antoine, sit down. You have had a terrible experience. It's a miracle even you survived.
But 2 of us survived, too.
We can talk about that later, Antoine. You said you would tell us how you got out.
And you tried to shoot me, eh, Ribord?
Oh, well,
No matter. You are an old soldier, and it's not surprising from the way I looked. Thin as a scarecrow, my face all shrunken in and the color of a vegetable that you grow in the cellar away from the light.
My secretary will take down your story as you tell it, Antoine.
Tell it? What is there to tell? I was caught in an avalanche. A heavy beam kept the rocks from me. For a long time after it passed, I just lay there, with my eyes shut. I wanted to scream, but I knew that no one would hear. It was days and days later when I heard it. A sound, so tiny that at first I thought it was only part of my daydreaming. Drip, like that. Then drip, drip, louder and faster. And then I felt it with my hand, a tiny trickle of water running by me into the ground. And I knew if I could follow it far enough, I would find the sunlight again.
It was draining through cracks from the glacier.
Yes, through cracks that could be followed. I dug with my hands, with my very fingertips, and the blood ran down my arms faster than the stream itself. It took a long, long time.
7 weeks.
And 5 days. It doesn't seem humanly possible.
That's why you must go back up the mountain with me. Seraphim is trying to free himself, too. I know he is. All we have to do is go and find him. Ribord, will you go with me?
Antoine, it's too dangerous to walk on the rocks now. The avalanche is still shifting and moving.
You say no. Fredy, Jan.
No.
Surely you will go.
No.
You knew Seraphim, knew him, and loved him as I love him.
Well, since the rain last night, the path up the mountain is bad. If we could wait until...
Wait! Wait while Seraphim calls for help. If none of you are men enough to go back up the mountain, then I'll go alone. I don't need you, any of you!
Antoine, wait! I wanted to go with him. It's just that after he's slept tonight, perhaps he'll realize in the morning that Seraphine could not be alive.
Or perhaps Antoine himself is not really alive.
Slept another 12 hours, Mother. I'm going in and give him something to eat. What was the gossip in the village this morning?
Old Blanc has scared them all to death with his tales about the walking dead.
Do you believe that Antoine is dead?
I believe what you believe, Therese.
He walked to me beneath the cross of our Lord. And here, in this room, he held me in his arms and he kissed me. He is my husband and he's real. And alive.
It has been a difficult time for all of us. Poor Seraphine.
This morning I'm going to tell him about our baby. That will help, I know. I'll tell him while he's having his coffee. Hand me the tray. Antoine? Antoine?
I've heard the stories about men who come back from the life.
Antoine is not dead. Father, tell them. Tell them.
My friends, listen to this girl. What she says is the truth.
Antoine is sick. His mind is sick after being under those rocks week after week after week. He only imagines that Seraphine is alive.
How do we know that he hasn't come down here to take us back with him? Back up there. Old Claude says...
Well, let old Claude speak for himself. I want to hear what he says. Where are you? Where are you, old man? There, you see? You see he's not even here. That's how important his story is. Why, he's probably in bed dreaming an old man's dreams. And while he is... Antoine is up there on the mountain and he needs help. Won't someone go with me to find him? Please!
There, above us, between those two rocks. That's Derborence.
If I could just sit, just for a moment, it's been a long time since I've climbed this far.
Why don't you wait here with me, Therese?
No.
Let the mayor and the others go.
No. I must go with them. You see, I have something to tell Antoine. Oh, I should have stayed by his bedside last night while he slept, and I didn't. Now I must make him understand. I must say to him... We are three. There is a child coming and we need you. And I must tell him of the danger to this village if he is lost again.
I think we should move on. It's only another 3 hours until dusk.
No, you must not go on.
Claude, why have you come up here?
You are the wife. You are married to this man who has walked among us and called himself Antoine.
I won't listen to you. You're an evil old man.
I am an old man, yes, and I've climbed a long and difficult way to try to stop you from going up into the valley. Woman, take care. They may look as if they have bodies like us, but it is all trickery. There are certain nights, dark and moonless nights, when you can see them and hear them walking up and down, wailing and lamenting. They make a noise like the wind whistling over the top of a rock, like a pebble rolling in a stream. Do not go up into that valley or you will be lost, all of you.
Protect us again. I will go on.
No.
Aren't any of you coming with me?
Go into that valley.
Very well. I'll go on alone.
should do something.
There is nothing we can do. She will not come back. He grew lonely up there in the valley, under the rocks. He came back for her, and she went to him. We will never see her again. No matter how long you wait, she will not come back.
Please, dear God, help me find him. Help me. Antoine!
I am here, Seraphim. Soon you will be free. Free, Seraphim.
Antoine!
No, go back. Go back.
Antoine, I've come for you. To take you home, Antoine. Antoine, don't run from me. I love you.
Go back. There's nothing you can do here. Go back, I tell you. Go back.
The sun will set soon. We cannot wait much longer.
The Lord save us.
I hate to believe that old Claw is right. That we'll never see her again, and...
She should have been back long before this. What else can we believe?
I will still order a searching party. I'll tell the authorities in Zamparo.
It's too late. It's all over now.
We'll discuss it further in the village. Claw, are you coming back with us? Old Claw?
There. Over there. In the valley. See, they're coming.
What are you talking about, you old fool?
The old man's eyes are playing tricks on him.
No. Now follow my finger. Over there. That speck of white. That is Antoine's shirt. And the blue is Therese's dress. You can see them moving down the path.
Ribor, call to them. See if they answer. Call, Ribor, as loudly as you can. Call their names.
Antoine! Therese! Antoine!
Shh. Be quiet and listen.
Hello! Hello!
Father, forgive me.
Forgive you?
I had to go up the valley of Derborence again. I was sure Seraphim was still alive.
And what do you think now?
I don't know. When I came back to the village, I thought I heard his voice calling me. But it was like an echo in my head. An echo of the last words he spoke before the mountain fell. I don't know.
Now that you've returned, Antoine, the people of the village are no longer afraid. The people that you and Seraphim loved. The myth of the mountain is gone.
Yes, Father. God rest the soul of Seraphim.
Derborence. The name sings softly and a little sadly inside your head as you lean over the great empty space where there is nothing left anymore. And it is easy to see that nothing is left. In time, though, in still another 20 years, perhaps, the slow and patient brushwork of the growing moss will color the biggest boulders, while their cracks will give foothold to many kinds of flowers and ferns and small mountain shrubs with sturdy branches and thick leaves, their glossy berries swaying in the wind
like little tinkling bells, and Derborence will live again.
You have been listening to the CBS Radio Workshop and When the Mountain Fell, written by C.F. Ramuz, adapted by Draper Lewis, with music composed and conducted by Lawrence Rosenthal. The workshop is produced and directed in New York by Paul Roberts. Barry Kroger was heard as Old Plan, Augusta Dabney as Therese, and Joe Helgeson as Antoine. Included in the cast were Jackson Beck, Peggy Allenby, Alice Uhrman, Joseph Julian, Abby Lewis, John Gibson, Ivor Francis, Joseph Boland, and Ruth Tobin.
October 26, 1956, the CBS Radio Workshop on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every Wednesday here on your favorite station. Miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. Our shows are always available at classicradio.stream, along with information on places you can download our shows. You can also find information about building a collection of your own. You can contact me. You can find our social media links. And if you'd like to help us build this collection out so we can bring you more great shows, buy me a coffee. That's all at classicradio.stream. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Have a great Wednesday.